We want to now look at rounding functions in Stata. So we're going to look at three rounding functions: round, seal, and floor. So round, what it does is that it returns the value rounded to the nearest integer. For example, say we want to round 3.6 to the nearest integer, so just to display round 3.6, it will round it to the nearest integer 4. If you want to round 3.2 to the nearest integer, so we'll do display round 3.2. So it will round it to 3. Now we can look at this data set, and so let's look at an example from this data set. And if we browse over here, we can see performance scores are not rounded, right? They're in decimal form. So sorry, performance scores are not rounded, they are in decimal form. So say we want to create a variable that contains the performance scores rounded to the nearest integer, right now they're in decimal form. So we'll do generate score underscore round, that's the new name of the variable you want to create, is equal to, we'll use a round function and we'll write the name of the variable whose observation we want to round to the nearest integer, right? So this tells data that create a new variable score underscore round in which all the observations of performance score are rounded to the nearest integer. So we notice 78.6 is rounded to 79, 82.3 is rounded to the nearest integer 82, 91.7 to 92, 66.4 to 66, 105.9 to 106. So this is what round does. It rounds the value to the nearest integer. Now seal, what it does is it rounds a number up to the next integer. So whenever in seal you put something, it's always going to round it up to the next integer. So for example, if we do display C 3.6, so it's going to round it up to the next integer, which is 4. And so will it, even if we do see 3.2, it will also round it to the next, it will round it up to the next integer, right? So 3.2 will be rounded up to 4, right? Similarly, 3.1 will be rounded up to 4. So whenever you use seals, that's going to round the number up to the next integer. So 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, you can put anything, it will always round it up to 4. What floor does is it rounds a number down to the nearest integer below the number. So whenever you put in floor, what it's going to do is it's going to round it down to the nearest integer below the number, right? So if I do display for 3.6, it's going to round it down to the nearest integer below the number, which is 3, right? So it's going to round down to 3. Similarly, if we do display for 3.2, it's going to round it down to 3. If we do display for 3.9, it's going to round it down to 3 as well. So round returns the value rounded to the nearest integer. So it's going to round it, right? If it's 3.6, it's rounded up. So if it's 3.6, it's rounded to 4. And if it's 3.2, it's rounded to 3. So it's always going to return the value rounded to the nearest integer. Seal will always round it up. Floor will always round it down.